Hey guys, what is up? My name is Jake, and welcome to my first YouTube video. It's not a short. No, I've been posting a lot of shorts, but figured to finally do a full video showcasing a little project I've been working on. Now this is a Digimon named Gadramon. I am a huge Digimon fan. I grew up watching the shows. I love the animations, the styles. It's so cool. And I figured, you know what, I've been wanting to make a video on, trying new things and on some of my projects. So here we are. At the beginning of the video, I was showcasing some markers that I'm trying out. They're called Posca markers, I believe. I found them over at Walmart. I've been seeing a lot of them over on TikTok, but I saw them over at Walmart for 20 bucks for a good, I think it's like a 9 set or 10 set of markers, of metallic markers, because I wanted to paint this guy up in a nice metallic blue, and I was able to find it with the marker. And I did a little pre-test before continuing with a different little miniature I made, and I feel like with how big the marker was, it made it too impossible to work with. But as you can see, I am dumping a little bit of the marker in a little paint tray right there, and then using a brush and picking it up and then painting it. Now, as you will see later on in the video, I kind of realized that I'm doing something wrong, which is being very careful with my base color. All right, sorry about the weird audio cut here. I just got a phone call about a potential job offer. So I had to go take that real quick. But yeah, so like I was saying, one thing as you can see, I was being careful in the beginning, which was, applying the blue very carefully on certain spots. And one thing I've realized over the years is whatever you want your base color to be, it needs to be that whole thing. That way, all that you have left are the small details, which is super easy to take care of with a small brush. When I get closer around the feet, you'll kind of see that I start realizing that, and I'm just like, oh, we need to start, applying the blue all over the place. But like I said, sometimes I'm not thinking of anything. I'm just kind of in the zone, having fun, listening to music and painting. And like I said, painting this guy was super fun. Because normally I'm not really a big fan of painting like small miniatures. Like Warhammer and all that's super awesome, but the small details and stuff like that, I like painting bigger stuff just because I'm a bit of a klutz, and holding something small, I end up having the tendency of breaking it, and it's never fun to have, a project that you spent a couple days on making, and then a couple hours printing end up snapping on you. Which thankfully that didn't happen here, but like I said, you're gonna see here in a minute. I'm just gonna start slathering paint all over him. But no, so these pins, the Pasco's pins, metallic series, I would have seriously, it was pretty awesome. I feel like I only had to do 2 coats maybe, of that of the paint, and it adhered tremendously well. Better than most paints that I end up getting, like war games paints or Citadel paints. Now again, I'm not talking any kind of, I guess, smack about them, or I don't know, however you want to call it. Point is, the paint that I've been looking for, especially metallic paint, is something that one that just catches your eye. And as you can see, right here, I'm slathering paint all over the place. But I end up just kept on just staring at the paint just to see how well it was drying up, on how quickly it was drying up on the miniature, but also looking on the miniature. Because that's one thing about paint, is you'll kind of realize if you like what you see when you're painting something, versus when it's wet and when it dries. And this whole process, the whole time, even while I'm sitting here doing the voiceover for this video, I just can't help but just stare, looking at the paint, like, just, man, just it adheres so well that I am very impressed, and I definitely want to get some more of. Definitely want to use some on my future videos. But I don't know. I'm kind of hoping to use So instead of doing what I did here, which was, and as you can see, I took the model real quick to see about one certain spot if I could just apply some paint, and I just couldn't. So I go right back to doing what I was doing. But I'm kind of hoping to try these markers out on like I said, in a future video. I plan to just use markers for the whole thing. So hopefully that ends up working out well, and, we'll find out. But no, this metallic blue I definitely want to end up using on some other projects. Like I have some Space Marines that I've made and I printed. I might paint them blue, or I might go with a couple different colors. Who knows? But I don't know. Just even right here, while while you watch me struggle to get some paint out of this marker. Um, oh, and that's the thing though too. The paint control on this marker is pretty fantastic. Um, Now it's a paint marker that's designed just to be painted with, in a sense, not doing what I'm doing, which is dabbing it and trying to get it. Now, as you can see, I'm going over, looking over at a couple of spots, seeing that what has dry yet or isn't, and I'm still captivated by how well it looks. Um, Watching me struggle to get that paint's hilarious. But no, this whole process, it was just truly awesome to do. Being able to appreciate, one, what I had made and what I am painting. Now, like I said, I'm just kind of slathering the paint all over the place. I definitely, I feel like I don't know. I'm definitely going to find a better way to use these paint markers. Um, this was still a fun process to do, but it definitely took a bit of time to go and get the paint out of the markers, which I feel like, if I could kind of make it into like a spray paint, or I don't know. I don't know. I'm still kind of figuring out how to use these markers the best way. Um, which you're probably asking yourself, well, isn't it just a marker? Just use it like a marker. And you're absolutely correct. But I am slow, and my brain likes to overthink that there's better ways to, go about painting, which obviously, there's always different ways, like airbrushing. I'm slowly getting into that. By the way, real quick, when I was painting this backpack, I was so excited. Um, just because watching that paint just flow on it just looks, I don't know, it just looks so good, and it still does. Um, I don't know, the whole time I was just captivated by it. Um, oh, just looking at it. Oh, and by the way, I kind of cut the part, but I'm now using the shining silver that the those marker paints have, around on the small pieces that I wanted to paint silver. Now, I'm kind of just making sure I'm not going all crazy. I'm going nice and slow, controlled, painting spots that, you know, kind of looking at each spot that I'm just like, okay, that would be cool to have as this color. This spot would be cool to have as a different color. And I'm also going off the image that I have, because it does look that, like I said, if I was able to crop the image on here, I was trying to replicate that the best I could. Yeah, no, just very, very relaxing. I enjoyed doing it. It was fun. But I definitely, like I said, I want to try different methods of using these paint markers. Obviously, I feel like bigger surfaces, they're going to be a lot easier to use and kind of maneuver with. Excuse me, I had a burp. So I don't know. Might end up coming back to these markers in a future video. But it was definitely something cool to try, some new kind of paint technique or paint itself. I mainly just use Citadel paints and Wargaming paints, because I just feel like their finish is pretty good for what I'm trying to do on most of my projects that I end up painting. Now, not to say that one way is better than the other. This is just, oh, hey, it's something new to try, and, you got to enjoy doing it. Um, Now, as you can see, I'm still kind of just slowly figuring out. Like, yes, I'm focusing on the one spot that I'm at right now, but I'm also looking to make sure if I missed any spots that the ones I previously painted silver, I'm double checking on that. But I'm also looking at like the next spots that I want silver, like copying the image, but also making sure that I feel like, okay, that's the spot that really should have this color on it versus that spot. Um, and yeah, no, it was just slowly picking it out. Again, that's silver. I actually feel like the silver gave me a lot more paint than the blue did. Um, so I can't remember if I was just pushing more harder with the silver than I was the blue. I mean, as you can see, I was trying to get as much of that blue as I could. Um, but since I'm only doing small areas, I feel like the amount of silver I got was pretty good. And I feel like the dry time on these markers is pretty good. It's not no, oh hey, it's been like 10 hours and it's still wet. I feel like maybe, I don't know, a minute or 2 minutes. Condensing the paint into thin layers dried pretty quickly. And again, having this guy in my hand as I'm painting it, slowly seeing it take shape and form, like getting closer to looking like the reference image I had, was just so cool and badass. To know that I was slowly almost getting to the level of finished, and I did finish painting up this project, I promise you. But no, it was super cool just to see, like right there, I'm painting one of the missiles, right? And I'm going. There's these little like box shapes all over the image and stuff like that. And I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, I remember that looking silver, so let's paint that. And just doing a one brush stroke or a little dab right here, instead of having to let it dry and then come back to it like in 5 hours, and then applying another layer. It was just really cool that it only needed basically one pass, which is really cool. I always like that because if it ends up making the project go a little bit faster, to where, okay, cool, now this paint is all dry, now I can start messing with this paint instead of worrying that, oh hey, my paint's dried, and then I go and grab a different paint and I accidentally touched that paint that I thought had dried and it didn't, and it ends up bleeding over and it just doesn't look that good. Now here I am going over like a couple small spots that I'm thinking, you know what, let's paint that up silver. Let's double check to make sure that's looking silver. I don't know, just, and on the back here, right, for I I don't know what you would call these, but I guess the oxygen tank. So when I was making him, because obviously he's supposed to look like an like a dinosaur mixed with a fighter plane. So I was thinking, okay, these cords in the back, normally whenever I've seen them like in an anime or something, they're always, gray or silver. So I just figured, hey, we'll just stick with like a nice um, silver, I guess, piping. Again, I don't know what you would call that, but I just wanted to make it silver because it looks good. And when I was making it too on the model, originally I thought about cutting it, but I was like, no, this would be good for a, I don't know, more detail and to make it actually look like it's supposed to be a Digimon, because Digimon most of the time there's a lot of stuff going on, a lot of themes, and most of the time when there's Digimon on the screen, everything kind of makes sense and it looks cool. So that's kind of why I kept that there. Now, okay, so this is one thing. I'm not saying that the copper was bad, but when I was trying to get the paint out, I wasn't able to get that much copper out. I was kind of struggling with this one compared to like the silver and the blue I was struggling with, because the blue I eventually did get the paint out, but as you can see, I'm hardcore pressing and I'm still not getting as much paint as I really want. So I was shaking it right there too, because every time I pull away, as you can see, it doesn't quite look like the copper I have of the other paints. Like the copper that's dried in there is the war games copper paint. And when I was using that copper, I was like, "Yeah, this looks more gold than anything." So here I am getting on a little brush and then applying it to see how it would look. And I go in a couple times here, but you could tell that I was kind of seeing that it just wasn't the right kind of coppery color I wanted for the visor. Like I'm applying, and I just, even right here, it doesn't quite look that good. It still kind of looks a little bit gold to me instead of copper. Because I was because the way the cap looked, I was like, oh, that's like a nice bronze copper color right there. That would be fantastic. And as you can tell right here, it just looks gold, too gold to me. So I take a minute and shake it again, maybe to see if I wasn't shaking it right or something like that. And I just end up going with a War Games bronze color for the paint, along with a Citadel snakebite leather contrast, which I end up slathering over. And I feel like that actually, made the model look pretty good. But obviously that won't be until like, a couple more minutes now. But yeah, I'm still just looking at it, kind of just pondering. I'm like, I don't know. Oh, and also for the reference, the photo, it does have, for me, it looked like copper eyes, so that's what I'm doing. I'm painting its eyes copper. And I'm just, like I said, I'm looking at it. It doesn't look too bad, but it's still not the right color that I want. So I think it's right here that I apply the, oh no, I apply the gold. So the gold, I apply because on the image, there's a couple spots that have like this nice yellowish, goldish tint to it. So I went with the gold pen that the Pasco has. And, there I am getting as much as I can. That way I'm not getting too much to where it ends up being wasteful. But I just get enough to where I'm just like, okay, there's not that many spots of yellow on this model, so let's just get enough to where we have enough to where it covers the spots that I want it to, and we're not wasting paint. Because that's one thing I've realized, most of the time I'll end up wasting a lot of paint, just because my paint control is just not that great. It's on me 100%, but there's a lot of times I'm thinking, oh, hey, this is just the right amount of paint, and it ends up being too short or just too much. So I was just trying to be a little bit resourceful here. But yeah, around those, I guess you would call those the engines for his body. I am doing a nice coverage of the gold yellow, which is just enough to cover, not the whole thing, because obviously I still want the rest of them to look blue, but just enough to separate, okay, so this is the nice detailing around. So yeah, no, applying the gold, same thing. It was really nice. I only had to do one coat, and I felt like it stuck really well, and then it was drying pretty fast. So what else am I doing here? I think I go around his legs and his feet here in a bit. Oh yeah, so I'm covering a couple spots that you guys can't see on the camera, but I can. It's a couple spots that I missed with the gold. So I'm just going back in and painting that over. And I'm also trying to figure out a good spot to have that gold on, but not too much. Like I said, I wanted to make sure I kept the blue, but also added the nice gold detail, which obviously I figured out a good spot, and I feel like that actually looks pretty good. I'm just double checking to make sure that everything looks even on both sides and they have enough paint on them. And like I said, here I am going around his shins and his legs, adding the nice little gold pieces. And this is the really cool part. So like I said, figured out the whole base I wanted blue. And now I'm going to go over the spots that I want either silver or gold, or anything else. I'm just slowly painting those with a nice fine tip brush. You guys could get these over at Hobby Lobby, Amazon, um, basically anywhere that has a brush. Just make sure that you get the one that has a very thin fine tip. Um, and that's what I'm doing here. I'm barely applying it at the tip of the brush, and I'm going over on spots that I would like to have the gold trim on. Slowly still figuring it out, because I do kind of want to, the image I felt like did a pretty good job of a reference, but I do also, there's a couple other spots that I'm just like, this could have this kind of color on it, this could have that kind of color. Um, and here I am making sure I show the camera. Um, oh yeah, so on the image, I couldn't really see if his gun arm had gold on it, but I was like, you know what, rule of cool, that sounds pretty cool to do, and it's a different color, it's something, it's a bigger spot. That's the only kind of spot that it will end up having that amount of gold on it, but nothing else will, be that big covered in gold. And also when I was applying it on that spot, I was just like, oh, that looks real nice, real clean. Now again, I keep stopping what I'm doing to look at him to kind of figure out if there was enough paint added to a spot, if it looks good enough. Now most of the 9 times out of 10, people aren't going to see a lot of the mistakes that you make. It's only yourself. And here you can see I end up going like maybe a couple dips here and there, just to make sure that any spot that didn't look too gold did get covered up in that gold. And yeah, I'm just taking a look at, the thing I made, which is, it's just so cool to have in person, to go from a 2D image to a 3D file, and then to a real life object. So I don't know, it was just overall painting this guy, making him a 10 out of 10 experience. It was super cool. Definitely want to do it again just when I have enough free time. But yeah, no, so now I'm just going over kinds of little small bits here and there, for the gold of where I want. And again, even right here, just looking at the kind of small spots like the blue and the gold, that metallic blue just looks amazing. I kind of want to make another one of these guys, but bigger. And I think I'm going to do that with a filament printer. And yeah, definitely, definitely want to make another one of these. That is for sure. But yeah, as you can see, I'm just slowly picking out certain spots. A couple of spots that I'm just all like, yeah, so right here I changed the angle. I'm like, okay, now you guys can kind of see what I'm painting yellow, which is this little spot like right in the middle of his knee that I'm just like, you know what, that could be yellow too. The whole shin doesn't need to be yellow, but just that little small separation. And I'm looking in the back, checking around to see where else I could put yellow at that kind of works. And yeah, I picked I picked these little bulges that he had. I was like, you know what, that'd be a nice little, put yellow there, put gold here, and just, so forth and so on. But yeah, just overall making this guy, painting him, super fun experience. Now on his arm, you can't really see it, but his arm, I did have to do another layer of that gold paint, just because, right here, I was just like, that kind of looks a little too murky, let's add a little bit more. And I did, and, I'm happy I did. It looks way better now. But just holding in my hands and looking at, I'm glad I went the way I did with his back area, because his normal back, it doesn't look like that. It's literally 2 engines cut in half, and he's got this, forget what it is, down his middle back. It kind of looks like something to help him prop up, but I didn't really like that. It kind of looked like too much, I guess, junk in the trunk, you could call it. I wasn't a big fan of, so I just, went with this design instead. I felt like it looked a lot better, kind of looked like a jetpack, and overall just, something cool and something solid. And again, just looking at the paint, the way it adheres is fantastic. All right, so here, I end up going with a different, not shiny metallic, but a nice dark, grayish metallic. The markers, I used it on a spare piece, and it didn't look that, it didn't look like what I wanted it to, right? So, I grabbed the Vallejo metallic color that I have, and I'm just applying that really well into his gun barrel hand, which again, one reason I love this guy is because it's a minigun that he has for his arm. I think that's really badass and super cool. But yeah, so I'm just going back and forth. I end up doing it also for the big, again, I guess tubing you would call it. I don't know what you would call it, but the thing I'm currently holding, that runs into his arm, I do this. I do blah. I paint it the same way. My God, I could not get that wording out, and I do apologize. I know I sound all over the place. Is kind of my first recording, um, and I know I'll do better. I got to get through the rough patches. But yeah, I'm taking my time. I'm making sure I apply enough, but not too much to where, you end up having too thick of a coat of paint to where it ends up ruining that spot or ends up drying and you just have this big bulge of paint that you didn't want. Um, and I'm looking at all the angles because I want to make sure that, everything's covered. I don't want to end up missing something and it's like, oh, now that doesn't look quite right. Um, so yeah, no, I'm just continue going at it. Now I will say the Vallejo colors are pretty cool. I feel like they are really strong. Like when they get slapped on the model, they just adhere really well, kind of like how the markers are. And now here I am painting that up. And by the way, it is so cool to just, as soon as you start adding that paint, just to watch all that life that gets added to the model. Um, Again, especially even after it dries, it's not one of those like bad dries where it's like, that kind of doesn't look quite right. It looks so cool. And I don't know, I like the way it kind of brought this model to life. Um, yeah, no, I thought it was really cool. And again, still just looking at it now with the blues, the grays, the golds, it truly works out, and I'm really glad I paid attention to the like kind of coppery visor color, because I feel like that really did, you know, give it that one color difference, the separation. Um, because again, I don't want the model to look super busy, but I want it to, obviously have color, but not just like, oh, hey, it's got two colors and that's it. Now I do let the paint dry and I come back on it just to make sure I touch up any spots that either I missed or the paint didn't, there wasn't enough paint at this one spot. Now what's cool is I'm going to get the Citadel red paint. There I am mixing it off camera. And now this is just I forget what it's called, but it's just the Citadel red. And I end up painting his hair this red. And then, so after I paint that hair red, I feel like it really takes the model up another notch. In terms of, like, yes, there's a lot going on, but not so much to where it's super busy and it kind of doesn't fit the theme. Especially when the paint dries, it just looks really, really cool. And a bang up job, in my honest opinion. Again, I really wish I was on camera. Okay, there we go. Can we get more on camera? No? Okay. But, so as you can see, it already kind of looks better with that, red hair, because originally I thought, okay, maybe it's supposed to be, like a orangey red, but I didn't really care for that, so I just went with a nice, bright, dark red color. And after it dries, I mean, oh my God, it looks fantastic. Now, one thing I do want to point out too, is when I'm painting this, I kind of just use an old brush to where I can dab it in. As you can see, the way I made the hair was kind of like out in a spiky ridge style. So I kind of just used an old brush to kind of like dab the red paints into like the darker spots that you normally wouldn't be able to see. Um, And there's also hair like right behind his mask, like underneath his jaws. So I, went in there um, as agile as I could and dabbing that red paint in. Again, nobody's going to see it besides me, but if I'm going to paint something, I always like to make sure I put 100% in that effort. Um, but yeah, and I'm just again double checking my work, making sure that there's no black spots, nothing looked half-assed. That's my main thing when I'm painting. I want it to look super good to where if I'm the only person that has to see it, I'm the only person that's going to see it. Now, what was it? I'm trying to remember why I got more silver paint. I think I'm just going over a couple spots that either I had the red kind of dye over, as you can kind of see on the top there. Yeah. So yeah, no, I also had a little bit of gold that bled onto the silver, so I'm painting that up, and right there I'm painting the silver over the red because a little bit of that red did come over, but it's an easy fix. Um, I'm kind of just making sure I go over any spots that kind of look like there was too thin of a layer of paint that was put down, and obviously, putting enough paint on there to where it's painted. But yeah, I'm just slowly going at it, looking at the spots, eyeing everything all over, um, making sure that you know, if it looks like some of the blues or the reds or the golds got on the silver, going over and painting that. Man, just looking at it, I can't wait to get better at taking videos, but just looking at the little project I did, I am very impressed with myself. I'm giving myself a pat on the back. Uh, Damn, I definitely want to make more of these guys. Um, and so right here is where you kind of see me again painting up that gun cannon, just because there were still a couple spots that you know kind of looked like a murky yellow. But I was looking at the back and I was like, hey, would be really cool, because I know it's normally blue, but what if I put a giant gold stripe down both sides? And I would have to say I'm glad I did that. As you can see, I'm going in nice slow motions to make sure I have the paint adhere where I wanted to. But um, I see, just it brings that back more together. You got the red, the gold, and the blue, and I feel like the way it just works with each other is just fantastic. Now again, I end up going over this on a second coat, just because you could tell on the left side there, it's a bit murky, um, which obviously I don't want. I wanted a nice solid gold stripe, so I end up going back over and doing that. But yeah, no, just nice, slow, easy, followed the lines. I do have to say I'm pretty happy with my brush control. I feel like it's more steady than it was in the past. But yeah, no, I'm just going over, double checking, making sure that everything's nice, solid, not half-assed, right? I put too much time and effort into this project, so want to make sure it looks good and fantastic. Um, Now you don't end up seeing it on the video, but I did end up going back a couple times just to make sure everything looks solid and painted out. And here I'm taking a little bit of gold. Now on the image, it doesn't have gold in certain spots, but I was like, you know what? A little color separation doesn't hurt. Um, and Yeah, no, just overall showing this guy off. I mean, look at that. It just looks too good. I'm sorry. It looks too good. I'm happy with myself. Can't wait to make another.